Good morning. Um, yeah, it's been a day already. It's been a day. Um, I'm getting ready to go to Arizona. Saturday, we leave for Arizona. So your Sunday video will either be pre-recorded or it will be on the road, which I kind of think you guys like my on the road videos. So it may be on the road. But I'm headed off to Tucson for about a week and a half, and then back here before Thanksgiving, and because we have a really good friend who is a confirmed bachelor who is getting married, and we're only one of three friends on his side, so we need to be here for him. So yeah, I'm coming back for a wedding, and then I'm coming back to have Thanksgiving with my oldest daughter at their house. I will videotape that for you because it sounds like it's going to be an unusual Thanksgiving feast that they did last year. So we're not there for the dress rehearsal; we're there for the repeat. I will be supplying pie, so I'm a pretty good daft hand at a pie crust. So I will videotape that for you. I'll be doing a pumpkin pie to take because apparently um, my oldest daughter and my grandson love pumpkin pie, but my oldest daughter's fiance does not, so they never make it. So I'll be making a pumpkin pie, and I may make some pumpkin pudding and sans the wheat because I have broken out in hives. We don't know why. At first, I was worried it was the yarn. Can you imagine? Yarn store owner allergic to yarn? Ah! Because it was, I started on what we're going to see today. I started on this, a repeat of the Hug Me shawl. And I'll show you that here in just a minute. It's right here. And the one I'm working on is in black, but I wanted a black one. Um, I've been breaking out in hives all this week. And it started with I get a rash right here or on my back when I eat too much wheat for too long. I'm not supposed to be eating wheat, but occasionally I crack for things like shortbread, as you guys saw when I went to the UK. I ate lots of wheat in the UK. Then I took a break when I came home, and then David and I took some weekends about where I fudged because you eat out, they put wheat and stuff. And the rash started coming back, so I have like a rough patch, itchy patch here. And I said, "Oh, I gotta pull the reins back on this wheat. It's getting bad again." And I did, but it hasn't stopped. And then the other night, I did have more wheat and was knitting on this and broke out here, broke out here. My head is all itchy. So I have a little, I think it's called urticaria. I have a little breakout of urticaria, which sounds way worse than hives, but that's what they call it. So I'm upping my allergy meds to the max and taking them right on time and all that stuff you do when you break out in hives. Um, yeah, good times. And I'm about to take off, which means I'll be eating out, which means I'll probably be coming into contact with more wheat. I might just get a cooler. I think we've already planned a cooler full of most of our meals, so we'll see. All right, let's get back to more pleasant things, which is, although coming back for the wedding of my confirmed bachelor friend, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Um, so the Hug Me shawl is I got this out of a French. I made this pattern. This is my pattern. I got this out of a French magazine article I read from the 1920s, which I'm digging the 1920s now because of the house. I always did dig the 1920s. The 1920s was a period when my grandmother was a teenager, and she used to talk all the time about how much she loved being a teenager, and we have journals that she wrote when she was a teenager. Oh, she was saucy too. She was a saucy girl. My grandmother was a redhead, and she had a redhead's personality, very social. She basically is the inspiration for this shop because she taught me to crochet when I was 7. I used to get to spend summers for about a month at her house, and we crocheted. She'd show me her stuff. I got to see a lot of her patterns. She used to get subscriptions to was it Star? No, the Inquirer magazine for the crossword puzzles. But she did do the crossword puzzles, and so then I'd read all these old Inquirer magazines and all the wacky stories that they had in them. Yeah, so the 1920s are a very good set of years, and now we've bought a house from 1925, and so even more so. I wrote this pattern for the slow yarn crawl last year. So the 2021 Slow Yarn Crawl. And it was Apples to Oranges contribution to the knitted patterns. But the magazine, it's a French magazine in French. I didn't really read it because it was a sewing pattern, but the shape intrigued me because what it is basically it's a square of fabric. I'm going to have to put some stuff down here so you can see it. It's a square of fabric, and I will put the drawing up. And then cut a V. So you cut straight up one side of the square, and then you cut a V inside that. The V forms a three-pointed collar, and then the back is the point. And I'll have somebody videotape me so you can see this being worn so you can see it. But the way it fits is like this. And you have two fold-back collars. There's a little point of a collar in the back, and then your arms go into the sides of the square, and then you have a point in your back. And I'll insert here a video of me twirling with it, and I'll also do some video footage inserted of it laid flat on the floor so you can see the shape. All right, here's the lapels. This is the front two pieces. It wraps around, goes to a point in the back, and there's also a folded down collar. But it intrigued me because I knew that I could knit up one side, pivot and do a mitered corner, and then go straight down the other side. So this is knit in one. There's no piecing, there's no sewing or anything like that. The key, however, though, and I had somebody working on it who sent me a message on Ravelry who was having trouble navigating the short rows, because that is the key, is doing a series of short rows up the spine of this so that you have a mitered corner. And that's how you get the corner and turn to go the other direction. So see that? And what I thought I'd do today, because I don't really do much of these instructionals for you, is help you see how to give you some tricks as to how the mitered corner works. And or the short rows, because that's what it is. That's how you do your mitered corner. But all that you're doing with the mitered corner is you are knitting down, knitting back, leaving one stitch off your needle, turning, going down, going back, leaving the next stitch off your needle, turn, go back, return, leave another stitch off your needle. So every return, like on a typewriter, you're leaving another stitch off your needle onto leaving this unknit all the way down. And what happens is, like in the turning of a heel of a sock, because those also are short rows, is you have like a little gap tooth. See how the gap is there? And that's because down in this valley, there are two stitches, not one. We've turned and there's a little bump because we're building a ridge as we navigate this corner. Now, what I have learned in doing this and other projects is if I put a little stitch marker in, I won't accidentally either leave a stitch out of my short row or do it twice. Because what tended to happen if I didn't mark this is I couldn't really tell where the stitch I was on was, or where I needed to go to do the next turn. And so, and I've wandered out here without my needle. So what I do is, and I'm going to show you this in a minute, I'm going to pause and go get my other needle and show you. Also, I did want to tell you, I've been doing this I like doing this pattern on straights. And I'm not a big straight user. I usually use circular needles. And we do have these soon to be on sale for $5 a pair. They're not expensive, $5. And you can get yourself a really long straight needle. These are great for armpit knitting, pit knitting, as my mother-in-law does it. They're nice hardwood. And I don't know why, maybe because it's been a little stressful this week, I really have enjoyed knitting on wooden straight needles for a change, just to mix it up a little bit. All right, I'm going to cut and I'm going to show you how to do this short row. So, got my other needle now, and we are going to knit seed stitch. So this pattern has seed stitch all the way around the edge. I personally use seed stitch to edge all my stockinette fields, just because I found that when you do garter stitch, you get a little bit of a curl here, but it blocks out. Whereas if I do garter stitch here, it really folds, and I'm constantly battling that fold. So I do seed stitch. And that means knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, and then on the other side it's purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one. It's offset. All right, so I'm gonna knit my seed stitch, knit my seed stitch, knit my seed stitch all the way up. I have 6. I normally do a border of 6, in fact. All right, so 2, 4, 6. I have those. Now, see my little gap tooth here? I have one. My gourd marker is 1 away from in between 1 and 1, right here. I have 1. I've stopped 1 before my gourd marker, and I have another one after it. So I'm going to now lift this. Put my gourd marker back on and turn my work. I'm not doing a stitch there on that last one. And because I'm now into the seed stitch on the path back, I go right back into seed stitch. All for this field, it would have been knit up to the seed stitch. Turn my work, turn my work. Let's keep it in the film. I'm doing my edge. Now I'm going to move this marker again. It'll just be in the it's in the seed. I'm into the seed stitch border, but the short rows are the same. So there, turn my work on my seed stitch again, and I'm going to stop 1 stitch before the marker. Seed stitch up to 1 stitch. This will be 5 stitches now from the end. 5 stitches on my right needle. Okay, I've got 1 stitch, gourd marker. I'm going to pull this stitch off, pull the marker off, put the stitch back on, replace the marker. Now, you don't have to have that marker on there, but I find that it helps me know exactly where I am in the sequence, and that way I don't make too many passes and I don't end up with a wobbly corner. And now we're on a purl stitch, so purl. It's getting a little heavy on my needle here because this is all on this big needle. This is one benefit to the circulars, is you distribute your weight onto your lap instead of off the end of this needle. See all these in here? All right, I'm going to quickly do the rest of these stitches to the end, and then I'll show you how we pick it back up again. Again, I'm going to use my stitch marker to help me. I just check what my first stitch is because I always forget. It's morning, sort of. It's a little late. I do have my coffee sitting across the room because I didn't bring it over here with me. Moving my stitch marker, did my little short row, turning back, and can you guys read your knitting yet? If you're a new knitter, that is a major hurdle that is worth trying to get over. You should be able to see your purls and see your knits on the previous row below. Once you can do that, then you don't have to blindly follow a pattern. You can just look at your stitches below and figure out where you are in the pattern. So it's very valuable if you can get to the point that we call reading your knitting. Very valuable. All right, next stitch. I've got 3 of these short rows left, and then you will be and this is how I count in the pattern when I say how many stitches you have on your right needle. It's after you turn. These are the number of stitches on your right needle. And we should be at, I have 3 over here, so we should have 70, or we should have 69 now on that needle. I need to purl that. Purl. And I just looked and said, oh, I need to purl. Purl, and then knit, and purl, and then turn again. My last 3 short rows. row. Stitch marker. I'm actually tempted to pull this off because I know how many I have left now, but I'm going to be consistent for your sake. Purl. It's really heavy on my arm. I should try. My mother-in-law pit knits like this. Wish I could. I meant to get her on camera when we were in the UK, but she was shy. I got her on camera a little bit, but not enough. Not as much as I would have liked to. Let's put it that way. I think I got her cooking one day. And you can go, I will put links to those videos below if you want to meet Jean, my mother-in-law. I'm going to take this off now because I'm at the very end, but we will be putting it back on for the return row. There we go. All right, so all the short rows have been completed, and I have worked myself into a pointed mitered corner. So I have done a miter, and basically like the washcloths, I have turned a rectangle and I've turned the corner, and now I can pick these back up and I will turn again, and that will make the corner of my square. So I just did this first one. My first stitch will be to go back on my knit 2. So I'm going to knit 2, put my stitch marker in, put my stitch marker back on here, here, and we're going to turn back and knit. And I'm going to do it exactly the way I did before in that, let's get these through. Oh, this is purl. Get these through, and I'm going to connect these sawtooths together, back together, with just knit one further than I did the row below. I don't knit 2 together or anything like that. I'm just knitting one further. So there, and then the next one, I'm going to go to 1 past the stitch marker, move it, go again. And that makes the big holes, but also completes the square because I have to do another, now I got to knit 1 further. Stitch marker tells me where I'm at on this, and gotta see what I should be doing here. Oh, I just purled. Oh, I should purl again. Let me knit this one. Knit. It's hard to read some of this. It's hard to read your stitches when you're picking these back up. There. And then I'm going to turn. Actually, this can stay over here. I'm going to turn my work. Turn me work and go back again. So back and forth with my seed stitch. Let's see what we have. So purl, knit, purl. Good. That's good. That's much better. Purl, knit, purl. And there we go. And I have 2 holes I've closed. Now I'm going to close the 3rd. Close another one. This should be purl, knit, purl again. And then we'll do another one. Purl, knit, purl, and then move the stitch marker, knit, put it back in, turn my work, go back. I think my gauge has been a little looser on this shawl than my first one. And it's pretty, I think I don't mind it actually, because I think it's going to make for a little bit bigger shawl, so it'll be a little cozier. Knit, purl, knit, purl. That's 4. I got 2 more to pick up. And then see, can you see the point here? I'm going to show you. See, I'm getting these holes. So it kind of has a lacy effect, but it's also turning the corner. Purl, knit, purl, knit. Purl, knit, purl, knit, move the stitch marker, put the stitch marker back on, and we now have our 3rd 1, 2, 3 turned corner, and you see the little corner down there? And that I'm just doing it by going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So basically you're doing 2 sets of short rows. You're doing a short row to get yourself down to the corner, and then you're doing a series of short rows to get yourself back to the neckline. Get this back on, and then turn. And now I have 2, 4, let's see, 2, 4, 5 on the right side of the stitch marker, and I've got 70, let's see, 5, 72, I've got 60, 68 or something on this side, always maintaining the 72 cast on stitches that you started with, but we're just manipulating around the corner. So purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then I've got another knit, moving my stitch marker for this short row, knit, put my stitch marker back on, turn my work, and back the way I came. And this is going to be knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. I'm going to get you up to the main section. Purl, knit, purl, knit. We're still in the border, the seed stitch border. We just finished that, in fact. So I now have 2, 4, 6. So this is the finish of my seed stitch border. See my holes? There they are. And there's my corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to move into the main body of the back of the show. And it'll be pretty consistent. You'll when you turn your work. So purl, knit, seed stitch border, purl, knit, whoop, purl, knit. Oh, that was purl. I'm saying the opposite of what I'm doing, knit. And then this does get tangled up a little bit. Now, move, goodness sakes, let me untangle myself. It's this back and forthy stuff. It gets a little, there we go. Now, we're going to move my stitch marker over to this needle, and I'm going to bridge the, oh, actually, we're going to take that off. Ooh. We're going to take this off. We're going to, let me look to see where I'm at. We're going to knit into the next stitch. Knit into the next stitch. Put the stitch marker back on. Turn. And purl, and then go back into the, we're going to purl 1, and then we're going to go back into my seed stitch 6. So the seed stitch should be knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, turn my work. Turn my work, and we are purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. That should be 6, and I do count all the time. 2, 2, 4, 6, and then these will be knit. So I will knit this one. I will remove the stitch marker. I will knit the next one. Uh-oh, I'll knit this next one, and I will pick the stitch marker up that I just dropped on the floor. I hear it. I'm moving it around. It's invisible. There it is. Stitch marker. Put it back on. Turn. Turn, turn, turn. Retangling up your work. And then because I'm on the back side now, it will be purl, purl, knit, purl. I'm back into my seed stitch border. Knit, purl, knit, purl, and turn my work. All right, I'm going to go off camera, but you're going to carry on doing this. So seed stitch border, and then knit, 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 knit to your stitch marker. Pull the stitch marker off, knit the next stitch, put the stitch marker back on, turn your work, purl back to the seed stitch border, do your seed stitch border, turn. Back and forth as you work your way up to here. That's the putting back on short rows. I hope that helps, especially the person who had a question, or anybody who has questions as we work on this. If this isn't good enough, just say in the comments below. I'll see if I can rig up a camera where you can see my hands better. Holding up here isn't as easy as an overhead shot, and I know that, but we'll see. If it's good enough, if you get the hang of it, let me know. If you don't get the hang of it and you want an overhead shot, I can do another video tomorrow. That's going to be it for today. Next Sunday will be another video. I'll try to upload that one right at midnight Saturday night, or get it triggered to go. But I'm going to leave you with some overhead shots of the shape of the shawl. I think I said I'd insert them earlier, so they may go in earlier as well. But I'm going to show you this one in progress. And actually, I'll show you also here after I finish this off camera. I'll show you the finished product so that you can see it. And I'll also put in the clip that is the photo from the original magazine article that I got my inspiration from. Now, this pattern is available on Ravelry, and I'll see if I can get it switched to free for a while, so you can get this for free. Mine is made out of Studio Donegal soft tweed. It's a worsted weight yarn, 100% merino, soft, but rustic because it's a tweed, and tweeds are supposed to be rustic. You can use other rustic worsted weight yarns for this pattern, and I hope some of you do make it. We'll get that pattern up for you because it was the slow crawl pattern. It's my pattern, so I get to give it to you for free for a period of time. It's going to be free for the next at least month or so, and we'll see what happens after that. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you on Sunday. Bye. So there it is, roughly shaped out. It looks like there's been a little more blocking, so I think we firmly blocked this direction more than we did the other ones. Either that or my mitered corner is a little bit off. Now I'm going to put the other one down on the floor so you can see. All right, so I've laid the black. My current Hug Me Shawl, on top of the previous one in Rowan Berry. And you can see that the process of knitting is up here, bind off, bind back on, short rows down to the tip, and now I've turned and I'm picking up the short rows with additional short rows up the other side, and I have formed a triangle, and now we're filling in the triangle with the return rows. So that's where I am right now, and I'm just going to carry on with this until I'm picked back up to the point again, or do my short rows up to the point again, and then I'll do the other bind off cast on to do that other collar opening, and then it's a straight shot down. And that is how you knit this shawl. So if you're interested in this funky construction, like I said before, I'm going to make the pattern free for a limited time. The link will be at the website and probably at Ravelry. And it's just going to take, I am on my second skein of yarn. So this is a 3 skein, almost exactly 3 skein project. I did test swatch when I knit this, but it's really, unless you're a super, super tight knitter, I would recommend, needles on the big side. So if you're a tight knitter, move up a needle size or 2. If you're a loose knitter, knit the needle size I said, because I'm a loose knitter. And I do think I'm using maybe even a 9 on this one with my straight needles. Also, if you've never knit with straight needles before, give it a try. They're kind of fun. So, yeah, that is in progress. And we'll get this finished this week while I'm on my trip.